Anyway, so you've had all this time to think.
I've had all this time to think. Try and think.
Is there but not to be hyperbolic and an annoying Bitcoin fucking idiot, but is there like a Bitcoin lens to all this? Has it like...
Yeah, it's all Bitcoin. Yeah. All Bitcoin lens, basically. And I'll tell you what it is. It is what happens when the block rewards run out, right?
Yeah.
That's the big question. Oh, that's a big question.
It's a big question on Twitter this week.
Well, they're all like, they're wasting their time. Where are the coins going to go? The coins can't go anywhere. So people are like, we're going to have to issue new coins. Why? We have coins already. It's like, but they're my coins. Sure. You're one of, let's call it 500 million people that will be using this network. You're not going to give yours up. No worries. But it's really cheap to pay off the future. Like right now, if we wanted to build, we can throw our coins forward into the future. Let's call it my brother and I. Yeah, I have. Yeah. And it's there actually. We can throw our coins forward into the future. It's like a miner. Think of Bitcoin miners like Magellan or Columbus sailing through the ocean. It's really dark. They would be much more successful if there was a lighthouse at the end of if there was lighthouses or buoys along the way, like checkpoints, right? They'd know where they're going. So the miners in the future, there's going to be no block reward. So if we can say, guys, there's money here though. So keep fucking around on the network. Yes, there's no block reward, but we've made a block reward, which is we've locked all these, treasure chests of Bitcoins along the way, just in the same structure as the block reward. It's basically 1/100th. So it's like instead of 50 Bitcoins, which would be 5 billion Bitcoin for the first cycle, it's 50 million Satoshis. So it's half a Bitcoin. So it's 1/100th of the initial schedule. But yeah, the idea is that miners now have an incentive. So even if you're a miner, this is 50 million times the block reward from the previous block halving, which is 1 Satoshi. So that means the people 4 years before that, when they were getting 2 Satoshis, they're going to be excited about this. The people before that, we're getting 4. Everyone's going to be looking to this. I would hope if I'm a miner, they want this. A miner is going to have a dictionary of these kind of treasure chest maps, these coordinates of okay, this public key, that private key's got money locked in this block. We're about 100 blocks away from that, so we need to keep an eye on this. We're going to want to scoop that on, block 7 million or whatever. And they'll have these checkpoints, and that's going to be these like breadcrumbs or treats for a dog. When when you're trying to train a dog to walk up the stairs, and you put the treats on the steps. Same thing. You want to incentivize the behavior. Now, it might not. People might go, fuck this, I'm not doing that. So whatever, dude, fine. We're just trying new shit. We don't know what's going to happen. See, the thing is with Bitcoin, the reason why it's different is because we can't break it. And I know that sounds like, I'm maxi schmaxi. I only like this thing because it can't break. That's its big sexy thing to me, is it's immutable. That means this is like a piece of cable going through the universe. So remember when you were little, you get a Milo tin or a can and you put a button and a string. So the string, when you stand across the field, the string's tight and I go, hello, and it goes into the thing, goes across and then comes out the other side, hello. What if the string was 126 million kilometers long or billion kilometers long and it goes all the way into the future? And so when you say into the future, the Earth's moving through the universe. So it has coordinates of where it's going to be in the future. So it's kind of like if Tom Brady could stand on Earth and throw a pass to himself and catch it. So it's like, you throw a pass, the Earth's still moving, and eventually the ball will land where the Earth is going to arrive, like a football player catching his own pass almost. So that's what we're doing. We're locking this transaction today, and it's going to lock, and then it gets unlocked in time. You'll see the shitty GIFs in this shitty thread.
It's not a shitty thread.
Because I do shitty work, and I'm working at shitty work.
Dude, it's okay. Talk me through this.
Yep. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to prove a wormhole, right? Let's imagine a physically wormhole. Let's say I've got a wormhole machine. I go, hey, there's a wormhole here. What happens? You imagine there's probably a big ring and there's maybe some electrical sparks or some shit out of Doctor Strange, whatever it is. But you have to see it. And you'd have to see it. And for you to say this is a wormhole, you've got to see, one, something that can go through there. So I throw this bottle through there and you see it land on the other side, which is in, New York or something, right? Or, another planet. So we need a bottle and we need an entry and an exit point. So as we look at that, basically, that's what this is. The entry and exit points are the time locks on the Bitcoin blockchain. So the object, we want to send a key through. Why do we send a key? Numbers. Numbers are really small. Sending a car is really big. I don't have technology to do that. No one does. But the difference between a car and a number isn't much, because sending a private key, when you generate a private key, it's cryptographically proven that that mathematical equation, there's nothing else to it, just this maths equation. But when you generate it on your computer, an electrical spark happens to make that operation. So that key is physically tied to that electrical spark on your electrical grid. Now, we can't see it, but actually that whole operation happened, and that's a thing. And so the idea is like, well, we can take this key, and if everyone has it, then we can't put it through a wormhole, but we can just ensure its survival long enough to get to until the other side of basically this transaction, which is 120 years away now. So yeah, it's not sending a spaceship. Well, with the first message on the internet, the first message they ever sent, do you know what it was? LO, I think. Yeah, it was meant to be log in, but it broke after sending 2 letters. Yeah, true story. But that shows how far we've come, right?
You've created an experiment that you won't get to see proven.
Yeah, I know.
Well, unless, you know.
Well, to be proven, it means we have to get to block 7.14 million. Basically, we're going to get to the year 2140 before the year 2140.
Yeah, so we need some medical advancements that mean you can live forever.
Or we need the blocks to be produced much faster. So we need some breakthrough in mining algorithms, but we'll wait and see what happens. But yeah, it's unlikely that I'm going to see what's going to happen. So, yeah, do you
know about wormholes, Danny?
Yeah.
Like it's mathematically proven that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, he's like Einstein mathematically proven.
Yeah, it's all a thing.
It's the issue whether they can be stable enough for things to pass through them.
I think it's more about our perception, right? Like, you know, we need to perceive a wormhole. So is a wormhole only physical, or what if you blink? And if I play a song to you, right, and you blink and you take in the song, and you're like, oh my God, dude, that felt like school, like prep school. Oh my God, that felt so real. You know, like when you hear a song and it takes you back. Well, taking you back, what is a moment in time? The only thing it can be is energy signatures. What did you hear? What did you smell? What did you taste? What did you feel? And where were you or whatever? And that produces a thought. You think it produces a thought, but actually all it is that moment in time, wherever we are in like the universe, that's basically all the energy signals compressed into your heart, because you're just an electrical current. That's all we are. You, me, we're all the same thing, an electrical current. That light bulb, electrical current. The TV, electrical current. We just sort of manifest in different ways. But yeah, so the idea is basically if Bitcoin can't break, then any message that we put on the Bitcoin blockchain should be read by someone in the future. Now, it's like, well, there's going to be 1 billion messages. Why on earth would they read this? It's like, well, let's try and give them a reason to read it. And then that's why you put a big fuck off, or part of my language, but a big incentive basically for them to be like, oh my God, we need to make sure that we take this key and mine these Bitcoins and, you know, everything keeps going smoothly. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah, no, it does.
You sure?
Yeah, no.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're with me. Okay, so this is the shitty gift, but basically the Earth's going to keep spinning. It's going to keep going. So Planet of the Apes, you know, they feel like they've landed on a new planet. It's like, actually, it's just Earth really far ahead in time or whatever it was. And so we can see that basically we could travel all the way, or we could make a little wormhole. So I actually did have slides, but anyway, you can keep going. This is a shitty GIF anyway, but the idea is basically we do the Bitcoin blockchain because it's the only ledger that we've got certainty at the moment that will be around in the future. Now, yeah, the only way it's not going to be around is if, we turn it off for whatever reason we want to turn it off. And so, yeah, the idea was to have these timestamps for Earth. And now how will we know where Earth is? We've got a block height of when I did it, which was from that voice recording of when I sent it to you before. And then the other block is going to be around Earth 2156. And so what we're using is Bitcoin's block height because it's really hard to bullshit. We can't bullshit that. And everyone's got the same block height at the same time. So we're using that kind of like our Z-axis. So if you've got a latitude and longitude on Earth, it's like that's the, where were you on the planet? But it's like where was the planet through the universe? And so we'll use the block height to kind of be our yardstick for that.
Okay.
And then if we keep going down, okay, so signal attenuation. So remember holding our cup, remember standing on the other side of the field. Now, what would happen if that field was 4 kilometers long? You probably wouldn't get the message. It goes, it doesn't have enough oomph, right? So that's why we've got Wi-Fi routers in our house to give it like the signal to kick up the arse, because signal attenuation is where I think it's where the signal drops off, basically. Like, how long does it take to drop off? So if you carve something into an unbreakable ledger, it doesn't drop off ever. So that's like being able to send a message to a telephone line that doesn't have a telephone pole on the other side, and just saying whoever plugs in this side of the telephone line is going to get one message. And it's the only message. It's the only thing coming out of here. So I think that's kind of an interesting way to think about the Bitcoin blockchain, when you think about it like, oh shit, this is basically a diary that everyone can write in and no one can change. So does that make sense, by the way?
No,
all right, cool. So we put half a Bitcoin in there, and yeah, we've done total of I think there's a total of 17 transactions into the future. So they're all locked there. The idea is to put 34 there, so one for each halving to show the cadence of the halvings. But yeah, it's just another way to kind of mitigate any potential FUD, not FUD, but the idea that, we've got to increase the block size. Well, not really, because we can achieve a lot today, because the cost of 50 million, people will flick, 100 sats here. I get, there's walking apps where they'll pay you 400 sats if you walk a mile or something. People are farting around sats like they're going out of fashion right now. And that's fine, and I get it. That's cool. But just think about every single sat is 10 minutes in the future. And at that time, think of the weight of the network. If it hasn't broken by then or whatever, it's going to be astronomical. It's like a black hole of Earth's energy. Well, let's say, potentially anyway. So I just thought it was an interesting idea, and I thought maybe it sparked some creativity on how to think about time a bit differently, or to actually think about keys as electrical currents, and sort of get that conversation going a bit, because I think right now we're going to start looking at keys like they're more real than we thought they were, because as we start losing who we are, so as you start losing your likeness, you start holding on to what is yours more and more, right? So if people start copying your tats, your this, your that, you're like, well, fuck, hang on, leave something for me. And your key is going to be the last thing that's left. And so the idea is, what is your key, or what keys are you? And so, yeah, make it a really big incentive. Make sure they really want to look at it. This meme down below, it looks pretty, sort of tells the story really TLDR. We've got a big mining incentive. And so the idea is that you come back to Earth in 120 years, and hopefully people are basically trying to open this, or they're trying to hang on to the key. Yeah.
And so your idea is that what is a relatively small amount now
can be drastically impactful
in the future.
Yes.
So high that even if you have a bunch of blocks with little to no reward in between, it's worth getting into that.
They're still this is a whole new stratosphere. People will start mining 50 years before to comprehend, because they know that this bounty is coming, and it's an absolute certainty that it's coming, unless something happens. But I'm not sure.
But it does require people to constantly pay forward, like you've done. You're paying forward.
Sure. Yep.
And if other people do that, great.
Yep. And sure, we can't rely on that, but I definitely think that, if Bitcoin, if it's given one person something enough that they think, you know what, it's like Trevi Fountain. That's what my brother calls it, Trevi Fountain, flicking the coin into the future and just hoping, what happens. But the weird thing is, if that's true, let's think about, let's say you and I are talking, and it's 1905, and we're sitting there at a cafe talking. And now, we know, let's say you turn out to be really famous, right? We know that people would want to know what we were talking about, because they want to know everything that you've spoken about, but you didn't have your whole life digitized then. So in the future, people are probably going to watch this episode, because the archives of the internet will exist, most likely, because the data is just going to persist forever. So they'll be watching this being like, oh, okay, so that's sort of what the go was with it. All right, well, his maths is totally wrong and he sounds retarded, but thanks for the free coins, or whatever the response is. It doesn't matter. But, either way, it's sort of just something to make you think, because now it's sort of the question is, well, if you can do that, then every person now, and not only that, that means that coin's out of circulation. So we've got half a Bitcoin that is 100% not there anymore. So you can do a number of how that's sort of risen the value of everyone else's coins, but it can become a double-edged sword really quickly, where we have these certainty of time-locked coins that are out of circulation. And now you have the masses have the ability to delete money, not print money. And so you kind of think of this, it becomes a weird dynamic, but I don't know. I think people are going to get so much value from this in more than one way, just not like financial value, but they'll see a lot of themselves or grow in their, their own way. And they'll want to do something for the future, I reckon, to say, hey, thanks. This was a mad journey I went on. I think a lot of people will be like that.
So what's the goal here is that you want to inspire a lot of people to start throwing sats into the future?
That's a one way to make sure that they've got a reward in the future, for sure. I think the other was just sort of connecting the relationship between numbers and physical energy displacement.
Right.
And so I think that was just sort of how much weight. So I'll give you an example. Let's say tomorrow morning, Satoshi's coins moved.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, and I'm not a time traveler, but I can guarantee you what happens. I can promise you with absolute certainty that theblock.co, that website, will host something that speaks to that. I can guarantee that you will do a podcast that will have some commentary about that. And why is that? And that's because the weight of that key is so tremendous to us, the weight of it. Now, we call it weight, but it's got an aura to it. So when that does something, it's like an earthquake, a geologist shaking the earth. You see like shit's going to happen on the surface. So if we think of like media publications, Twitter, what it would be trending on Twitter if Satoshi moved his coins to Coinbase, right? So all this energy gets displaced on the surface layer, but it's very like chaotic. So if you could get an action to happen on chain that should produce a non-chaotic off-chain response or one of cohesion, then you can kind of use the chain like almost like a lens through time to say, well, in this future, you guys are going to have some problems we don't know, but we know the energy problem. If this is a ledger of energy for everyone, then we know that you're going to have one energy problem, and let's try and help them out with that. Because it's not like we're going to fix everything here tomorrow.
Yeah.
But, we might be able to fix some shit in the future. Anyway, yeah, that's yeah. Oh, do you want to know the story of when I did this ad? There's a couple of funny facts to it. So the first one I did was, I think the first transaction was on the 21st of the 10th, 2021. And then I was
that the one you messaged me about?
When I messaged you, it's just basically saying, hey, I did it. And so it was actually serendipitous that you didn't take it, because it was meant to be stolen by someone random, because that was more pure. It was more intellectually honest in that regard, where it's not like, oh, you just gave it to your mate. It's like, actually, no, some dude out there knows he stole them with absolute certainty, and I don't know who that is. But the idea is that was on the 21st. And then it was on my birthday. The idea was I've got to do 34 transactions, right? One for every block halving. So fit half a Bitcoin, then 0.25 of a Bitcoin, then 0.125, and so on and so on. So I don't know if I've sent it to you, but I've got it all, like all these transactions already logged out. But when I did it, it was my, I did the next two. So 1, 2, 3, I wanted to make it so it was a pattern or a trend so someone could see it. So the first one was done on the 21st of October. The second and third ones were done on my birthday, which the block fell on my birthday. So my birthday was 7/2/2022, and that block was on my birthday. And so I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's a sign. I'll do it then. And so I did the other ones then. And then the last one was on Einstein's birthday. But to do that, I was like, okay, this is all about energy signatures. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I was like, okay, if I'm electrical current, my phone's an electrical current, the blockchain's an electrical current, how do I tie all these things together? So I was like, okay, I'm going to get on my bike, ride around Centennial Park, which is over there. We'll see it tonight. It's opposite. Actually, anyway, near to, sorry, that's retarded. Let me just stop. Anyway, ride my bike around this big 3-kilometer loop, and I do it over and over while I'm on my phone sending these transactions, because I want, if the future can see all these energy signatures, they see this idiot riding around in a circle. So he's telling me, hey, I know what a circle is, meaning like, hey, I'm trying to tell you guys, I know what circles are. And then also he's like, oh my God. And you see like the bird's eye view would look like these fireworks going off into the blockchain, because I'm going, like, every 10 minutes or 20 minutes, because you got to wait for them to confirm. But then anyway, I accumulated all the days destroyed, and it weighed up to like 2.3 million total days destroyed. And that turned out to be the same size as with the pyramid blocks. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because the pyramids have got like 2.3 million stones in them, and they're just doing their thing.
Which, by the way, weirds me out, because you look at the photo of the pyramids, and you're like, there's not 2.1 million blocks in that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like if you just looked at somebody, how many blocks in that? I don't know, 10,000?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean there's 2.1 million blocks?
Yeah. 440 qubits by 280 qubits high. It's a monster.
It is a monster. Yeah. Did you know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. It weirds me out.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's kind of the premise is like, do something. And I thought of this as, there's a lot of conversation around NFTs and stuff, right? And I think NFTs are actually in their current state are quite unoriginal. But this was like, well, this key exists now and it's not a private key anymore. So it's everyone else's key. But this key is now the NFT. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the whole work is all embedded into this one key. It's not is it a frog or is it a monkey? It's like, no, dude, this is like, this dude's been cycling for 3 hours in a circle like an absolute lemon. It's taken him 3 years to do this and it worked this much weight, this much energy. Like, it's real. And I felt like that would be hopefully like kind of supercharge the conversation on people like, well, what do we think is cool or what is a valuable NFT? Because like, look, monkey pictures and shit, I have no problem with them, but I just don't know that that's like the value add right now. It's sort of, it feels a bit like littering in the ocean. Like, yes, we littered in the ocean. We know it's dumb now, like, and we used to know it was okay. And I don't think it's bad. I like people trying everything, but let's get like creative because like Bitcoin's quite sets a standard in things. And I'm like, don't gronk out. Like, you know, like let's make it mad. Let's make it really, really cool. I don't know. Anyway, that's the end of my shit story.